Hey, welcome back and thank you for watching. It is a little chilly out today, although it is beautiful. So that means fall's in the air and the leaves are about to come down. You can see them, well, a lot of them, not all of them here behind me. So in this video, I'm going to go over a couple things I've done on the 3-point for using the pine straw rake this fall. Some things I'm going to try out. And then I'm going to show you just a little bit about the mower deck in relation to the movement of the 3-point. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to include a full unedited disconnect and reconnect of the mower deck. So people will talk about that and say, oh, it's a piece of cake. But I'm just going to show it to you start to finish so you can get an idea for yourself. When someone says, oh, it's a piece of cake, you can really just see the whole thing and not think that, yeah, they edited out, all the, cursing and knuckle banging or whatever. So that's what we're going to go over. So let's get started looking at the 3-point and the pine straw rake. All right, so first, just a little bit about the setup I have here. This is a 72-inch pine straw rake, obviously intended for raking pine needles. But I use it to rake leaves in the fall. I've got it attached here to my QH05 quick hitch. Now this is not quick hitch compatible, but as you can see, hopefully you can sort of see this. I've used long hitch pins here to sort of make it work and make it fit in the width of the quick hitch. So, it's good enough for a light implement like this. I don't know that I'd necessarily want to do something like that for something heavy like a box blade, but it definitely works for this. So number one, to get this thing to follow the ground, it's not really that easy unless you hold the 3-point handle down constantly. So the technique, and I saw this a long time ago from Mike up at Grampy's workshop on one of his videos, is to make a flexible top link using a chain. So let me go around the other side here and we'll get a look at that. All right, so here is that chain. So this is just a trailer safety chain. I got a Harbor Freight, it's 1/4 inch. So it's very heavy for what I've got done here. And I've just removed the pins for the standard top link and then looped this around and hooked it on itself. Now this chain has safety pins that sort of hold it together so it doesn't come unhooked. And I think it's fine for this application. And you can sort of see already the way this works. Once it's in contact with the ground, you're going to get this effect as your front wheels come up so that it continues to follow the ground. So I'll cut now and just show you a video as I'm talking of that in action. And so this should really work well, especially in the situation where I hit a little variation in the ground and the train so that the rake stays in contact. I might have to make some adjustments. This chain maybe has to be shorter. I'm not sure. I'm just going to kind of have to take a look at it. Or I may go back to the solid top link. I don't know. But it's definitely something I'm going to try this year. So now let me show you the other thing that I'm going to try this season. All right, and it's getting a little tight here, but here's the second thing. So chains to keep the 3-point up when the mower deck's down, because I'm going to need to be using the loader, the pine straw rake, and the mower deck all basically at the same time. So the idea with this is that when the when I need to lower the mower deck, obviously I need to keep the 3-point up. So how do I do that? Well, I put these chains in, and I'll go ahead and put the 3-point down in there, and you can see that it's only going down part of the way. So I'll zoom back around here to the back, and you can see I'm still pretty far off the ground there. So I might have to, chain it, shorten it a link maybe, but that keeps, the pine straw rake off the ground while I'm mowing if I don't want it to be in contact with the ground. Now in the reverse scenario where I want the mower deck to stay up, but the 3-point to go down, of course, I've got the lock right here. And this does, I guess, essentially mechanically lock this deck in an up position, because I can tell you, I left this thing locked in this mower deck here for a week or two, and it stays up. So it's like mechanically locked there. There's no hydraulic leak down or anything like that. I'm going to do a little sidebar on hydraulic fluid here for a minute. Then we will get to the uncut video of the mower deck removal and reinstallation. So the YouTube channel, of course, makes some revenue, and I take that revenue and put it back into the channel. So I'm kind of projecting between now and the end of the year, having the funds to do another hydraulic fluid test. I had originally thought I'd just pack it up and not do anymore, but I have had requests, of course, for Shell, Chevron, Schaefer's, and the Agra UTTO fluid. So I was thinking about doing all 4 of those and doing another hydraulic test video. I'm going to have to get some of my like my freeze test gear, set back up. But I want to hear from you as far as whether they're the 4 brands you want to see and whether that's what you want to see on the channel. Or is there something else related to this tractor that you'd like to see me sink, $200 or $300 into between now and the end of the year? So put that down in the comments. Let me know, and I'm going to try to shape the content toward what viewers want to see. Maybe it's oil filters, maybe it's oil brands, maybe it's something totally unrelated to the fluids and filters. But just let me know in the comments. Okay, then next up, I'm going to get this mower deck off and reinstalled. A couple caveats before I do it. Again, I'm going to do it uncut, and it's just going to come off and then right back on. Number 1. Number 2, keep in mind everything I've got set up here is clean. That everything's lubed, everything's clean. That PTO shaft is most likely going to slide right off and slide right on because everything's lubed up very, very well. I already raised those wheels to the highest position. Well, that was the full version, and that was real, folks. So, I mean, that was the first time I took it off and put it back on. Previously, I just put it on. And I did definitely find that this pin over on this side, I had to grind the lift arm out, the hole on the lift arm out just a little bit to give it a little more play. Now, wiggling the deck does help some get it in there. But I really needed to grind it down a little bit. So I just put a little fluid film on, and that definitely helped. And then the other thing I noticed was that my little chain limiter idea here in the back, I'm going to have to be real careful with that, because when you limit the 3-point and its ability to drop, it actually limits the ability of the deck to drop, which I didn't know. I thought that I could just mechanically hold the 3-point up and the deck would drop. But that was not the case, and I'll show you that video right now. All right, so I've got the chain on. I'm going to lower the 3-point. Watch that mower deck. And the knob was all the way down, right? Watch. That's as far as it'll go. limiter and let the 3-point down. And there you can see that mower deck dropped all the way down. So that's something to keep in mind, I guess. So that was kind of interesting. So I learned that. So my big good idea, we'll have to see. I mean, when I'm just kind of blowing and grinding leaves, I don't need the deck to be down the whole way, you know, like if I'm cutting, you know, like for cutting grass. So I still think it's going to do what I need it to do. But I guess we'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll see. So then the other thing I wanted to show you is a kind of a close-up view of that PTO shaft. So definitely getting the PTO shaft on. It's a little bit tricky, but if you've got, I guess if it's in neutral, you can kind of move that spline a little bit. You know, the clutch isn't engaged, so it should turn some. But then also you want to, you know, make sure that it's like click. You'll hear it click in there. The way you know it's in all the way is you can see the spline, and that's what you should be looking at right now in the video, sort of sticking through. So you know, you can kind of get it in there and you think you've pushed it on, and you can spin that little collar that pulls back. It's like, hey, everything's fine. You know, shake left, right. But that's, I think, the mistake people make. They think it's on and it's not. And maybe they get to the point where they can mow quite a bit without it coming off, and that might just be because the shaft isn't lubed to where it's got a lot of fluid motion. But really, it should kind of fly off immediately, I would think, if it's not latched in there. So 100%, you got to make sure that PTO shaft is latched on, or it's going to fly off and cause all kinds of damage. I've seen tons of posts online about that. Okay, so that's it for this video. This is a long video, but hopefully you just sort of like, you know, I sort of fast played through that whole connect process and had the little timer there, so you were able to see, you know, how long it actually took, counting going to get the hammer and coming back to, you know, getting the fluid film and all that stuff to get it unhooked. But that's the process. And you know, you can say, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, I can do it easier by doing it. There's all kinds of, I guess, different ways of doing things. But here's the thing. This is a subcompact tractor. It's the first tractor a lot of people watching this video have ever had. And you're going to run into these problems. You're going to have these growing pains. And that's going to factor into your decision as far as whether or not you want to deal with the big mower deck like this, or whether you want to just keep your zero turn mower, or keep your tractor, or, you know, keep what you already, your little lawn tractor, or, you know, keep what you already have that's maybe a little easier to sort of deal with than this is. So I'm probably going to get a lot of comments on that, but I welcome that. All right, so appreciate you watching, and stay tuned because fall's coming, and we'll be showing some leaf cleanup here pretty soon. We'll see how this deck does. Take care.